Our next presenters are Michael McConville and Martin Radcliffe from Spitz and Evans and Sutherland.
Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you, everyone, for having us out today. It's always a pleasure to support the work that WAC is doing, and particularly when we got word that the gist of a sponsor presentation this year was how we can use our systems to teach astronomical concepts. Absolutely knew that it was going to be Martin and myself. Long history of planetarium education. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Director of Customer Outreach for Evans, Sutherland, and Spitz. And this year, we are incredibly privileged to add Martin Ratcliffe to our work family as our sales development and training specialist. And so we knew that this was going to be a great opportunity to show some of the new features that are in Digistar. But before that, there's also, we're really excited to talk about Launchpad, a way to help planetariums open and re-engage and be able to actually be open enough to teach our audiences and still serve as those science gateways. Launchpad is now more than 350 planetariums worldwide. And that's not just Digistar and Sidome sites. Launchpad is available to all planetariums, regardless of system, regardless if you're full dome or you just have an inset projector. What we offer is good for all planetariums. And now, as we're entering our fourth month of Launchpad, we have a number of sites around the world that are beginning their free show licenses. And so if you sign up es.com/launchpad and become one of our cadets, we have a series of deliverables for you. We've already had 2 of our ground school workshops, the first on social media, the second on team training. And we have several workshops lined up for the next few weeks, including how to use analytics to support the existence of your dome or things like expenditures and procurement, and grant writing and fundraising, which we know is going to be an incredibly important aspect of the future of planetariums. And so go online, es.com/launchpad. If you want something a little easier, es.com/WAC. And that's going to give you all the information you're going to need about Launchpad and getting signed up and participating. 3 free shows. You choose one of them and you get a 3 or 4 month license: Mars 1001, Beyond the Sun, and Birth of Planet Earth. So we get planetariums reopened and re-engaged, but now you've got people in your audience, you've got them in your dome. How do we teach them? And one of our brand new features in Digistar 7 is called MicroCosmos. It is our 21st century update to the famous Powers of 10 presentation from planetarium decades past. And who better to give you a planetarium education than one of the people who really inspired me to do what I do now. And I get to hand this over to Martin Ratcliffe. Martin, take it away.
Thank you very much, Michael. And it is a great pleasure after a year hiatus to have joined Evans and Sutherland and be part of a large team here of software engineers, astronomers, planetarium people. Of course, it's a long history. I've had a long history with Evans and Sutherland. It's been fun coming back into this building. There are a lot of echoes from production meetings back in the 1990s, which kind of rattles my head a little bit. And also, in the last, 3.5 months, I've been learning Digistar. Digistar 7 is the new version of the long-standing Digistar software. And I can tell you, it's been really easy to transition. It's been extremely fluid to use. Some of it, I'm just aghast at how some of this is working. I have to quiz the engineers going, how did you ever do that? And I'm going to try and talk to some of those things because I know how difficult some of this is. So I'm going to go and share my screen here and show you just part of the interface. This is, of course, by no means the entire interface. If I showed you that, there are lots of different things on here and you wouldn't be able to see this dome view very clearly, but I'll just very quickly switch to a different view and you'll see how quickly the page view changes between those two things. If you're using an interface in your planetarium, you know how important that is to be able to immediately switch to a new screen without any delay. And we're going to start out at a circle 1 meter across on the dome. what I've done is just split my control screen into the two halves. So we have the dome view on the left and my control panel. There are many tens of control panels in Digistar 7. I haven't even got to discover them all, but we're just going to be talking about the control panel for MicroCosmos. MicroCosmos actually contains over 200 models of things that you can use in your dome separately through the library that Digistar 7 has, or in this mode where you can use a control panel that might be on your iPad, and you can walk around the theater and talk to students and discuss these different scales with the control panel in your hand. And of course, you're all planetariums. So you know that this dome view here is showing the horizon. And there are a few control things that I'll just mention here. I can change the transition time for stepping between each of the powers of 10. I can change the position of the features on the dome. I've just put them centrally here for this demo. If you come to LIPS this year, and that's at Buell Planetarium in Pittsburgh, my old place that I used to run the planetarium with a Digistar 1 and a Digistar 2. It now has a spanking brand new Digistar 7. So come and see that, and we can do this for real in a 50-foot dome. They've got a brand new dome cover as well, so it's going to look really nice and bright, and you can see this in all of its glory. And I'll be there and happy to walk you through it. Of course, I can change the azimuth. So if my seating arrangement is not quite what I need, I can move that back to wherever I need to. And I can turn off any of the features that I have, the circle, the scale line, labels, things like that. So I'm just going to walk through kind of a presentation on using this powers of 10, talk to some of the features that we have, and then just to emphasize again that we have all of these models are 3D models, and they're each independently available within the Digistar library for you to use in your own show if you want to get into more detail. Here we're starting out at a circle 1 meter across. I'm sorry we don't have a picnic in a Chicago park. We could add that if we wanted to. But we're starting out with the world's largest flower, which is Rafflesia. This beautiful flower here would be very attractive if you saw it, but the moment you approached it, you would turn the other way because it has a very unpleasant odor. This thing's about 3 feet across. And the unpleasant odor gives it a nickname, the corpse lily. I won't go into any more detail about what that odor is like, but let's just transition right past it so that we don't smell anymore, and down to a smaller feature of 1/10 of a meter. So here we have a variety of objects, matchsticks. Notice that one of them's burnt and one of them hasn't been used yet. We also have a variety of eggs of different species, different features there. And then we'll continue in down to a smaller level, 10 to the -2, about 1 centimeter across. And of course, these, there's an ant and a ladybird that are obviously a little smaller than a centimeter. So they're all down to roughly the right scale. We'll fly by our grain of rice down to 10 to the -3. So this is where we would find things like a paramecium, which is a eukaryotic cell. This is a cell with a membrane and a nucleus compared to a prokaryotic cell, which don't have a nucleus. And these tend to vary in size between 0.05 to up to about 0.3 of a millimeter in size. We also have an amoeba, which is, I like calling them the shapeshifters. They don't have any cell walls, so they will be very flexible and change their size. The other thing that we have in here applies to the screen that you are looking at right now, which is an LCD screen. And we have an LCD pixel here. Of course, we've magnified it because we're zooming down into these higher levels. So people, we've got things that individual people in the audience would be able to relate to. and understand. Now we're getting down into the human cell level, a variety of aspects. I'm going to be briskly going through this. There's a white blood cell. Here's the red blood cell. And they're about 6 to 8 microns across in general. And we can just continue walking through these different scales. You'll see how smoothly the transition is working. As I mentioned, I can change the transition time here if I wanted to. For a large dome and a large audience, you would want to increase the transition time so you didn't give anybody the twisties, which is the new word we can use for getting slightly disoriented in the dome. And here we're getting down now to 10 to the minus 7 of a meter, where we see, oops, I jumped a few levels there. Let me go back.
4 minutes, Martin.
Thank you very much. So we went, this is 10 to the minus 7 of a meter where we get to the DNA. It's about 1/10 of a micron across, very familiar double helix carrying the genetic instructions for life. And I'm going to scoot down into much deeper levels here. We've gone past the cesium atom, one of the largest cesium atoms. It's cesium-137 is radioactive. I think its most important use is it's used to date wine. Those of you who drink wine, that made me have a pause for thought if it has cesium in it, but let's not talk about that. Moving ahead into some of the deeper levels of the scales, the microcosmos, in a way, we dive down into the nucleus, past the uranium nucleus, down into the size of things like a helium nucleus, and eventually to a proton, where we are down at 10 to the minus 15, which is about, we call it a femtometer. If it's one of my favorite distance measurement tools, a femtometer. And it's at this scale that the strong force, the strong nuclear force, which is about 137 times stronger than the electromagnetic force, which occurs between protons and other charged particles like electrons. This is the level at which that force dominates. So you can talk about the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force. We're getting down into the very tiny particles. And now we have to make a jump from the level of a proton down to quarks. So these are the variety of quarks that we have in the universe. There are 6 in the family. And then we have to jump an incredible 10 to the 15 to go all the way down to the Planck level. And the Planck length is 10 to the minus 34 of a meter. You can discuss light travel time here, how long it would take for light to transit this distance, which is about 10 to the minus 43 of a second. In the very, very early universe, the entire cosmos was packed into a region of space smaller than this. This is where our physics breaks down. And of course, that cosmos rapidly expanded, and you can discuss ideas of inflation. Also, we're going to go back in a few seconds to our 1 meter across. And I want to show you how fluidly and smoothly these 200 models just skip across the dome. Look at that, it's just beautiful. Again, our software engineers are pretty amazing. And I'm gonna be I think I have about 30 seconds left. So I'm gonna go to 10 to the 7. We have dozens of things on the Earth, scales of states out to planets. 10 to the 7 is about the size of the Earth. If we go to 10 to the 14, we get past the planets, out beyond the stars to the scale of the solar system and a light day across. And then we can jump to higher levels like planetary nebulae, out to globular clusters and the entire galaxy. And eventually we can encompass the entire universe inside this, which of course the universe has expanded into since we were down at that Planck length. And we have the Laniakea supercluster, which is our local supercluster of which the Virgo cluster is part, and then the entire scale of the observable universe. So that is where I will end and wrap up. I think I'm right on time. So thank you very much for your attention.
Hey, Martin, when is that available on the cloud?
I believe, Michael, let's go over to you because I think it's available right now.
Correct. So it is available in the latest Digistar 7 update.
Okay.
This is a Digistar 7 based addition to that, but anyone with Digistar 7 who has downloaded the spring patch, that will be available to them, and then all existing sites moving forward.
Okay.
Thank you again, Michael and Martin.